So today we're going to be mixing up a water-based resin system called Material 1, or M1 for short. And it just consists of two parts. It consists of a water-based resin and a modified alpha-grade gypsum plaster. And we mix these two together to make water-based resin that can be cast or laminated. So we're going to do a quick demo on how to mix this up quite nicely. You can do it by hand, but by hand you don't always end up with a really good mix. And so we prefer to do this with a little shear mixer. And that's a little shear mixer that attaches to a drill, and then you can actually blend it up quite nicely and get a nice, smooth, consistent mix. So we're going to be casting it into a little silicone mold. So I've got a little 1-part block mold here that's been cut. That's this little kingfisher. So we'll just cast into that little silicone mold once we've done the mix. So we're going to measure them out. The mix ratio on this product is 1 part liquid to 2 parts powder by weight. So we're going to use a little scale to measure that out. Here's a little scale. This little scale is a 2 kilogram scale. It measures in 0.1 gram increments, so we can be nice and accurate. So we're going to put our little mixing container on here, reset the scale back to a 0 figure. You can cut a little hole in the seal to make it easier to dispense the products, a little bit more of a controlled flow, especially if we're doing small quantities. And we're going to pour out 100 grams of resin. Almost there. There we go, 100 grams of resin. And then we're going to measure out our powder components. And we're going to do 200 grams of the powder. We've got 200 grams of powder. So what's really quite nice about this system, it's very safe to work with. You don't have any VOCs, and lovely product to work with it. Also, when you're casting this into your silicone molds, it's also non-aggressive onto the silicone mold, so it's not going to chemically attack your molds either. And if you're using silicone molds, you don't need to use a release, so you can just pour it straight into your silicone mold, no problem. So one thing that we just need to have on standby is a little bit of water. So after we've mixed up the product, we can just use some water to rinse off the mixer. And we're ready to go. So we're going to add the powder to the resin. That's kind of the right way to do it. So we're going to add the powder across to the resin. And then we're going to use a little shear mixer, as I mentioned, to just give that a good blend. We're going to start off slowly, and then gradually we're going to build up a bit of speed. And that speed's required just to get a nice smooth consistency on the mix. Okay, so almost there. We're just going to scrape the sides and the bottom. Give it one more little mix. And before the resin dries, we can give that a quick rinse in water. And here we've got a mix that's almost bubble free, so that's great to cast. Just going to prepare the mold quickly. The M1 gives us about a 15-minute pot life, so it's going to stay liquid and usable for about 15 minutes at 23 degrees. And here we're just going to pour that across into our little mold. I'm going to tap the mold a little bit as well, just so that the resin can settle. And as you can see, the consistency of the resin is nice and smooth. There's no lumps going through, so just a really nice castable consistency. So that's our resin cast. And then we can demold this probably within about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's what our little casting will look like once demolded.